From every strand on the line of your reel, to the rods, to the anglers, to the lures on the end of your hook, let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your host, Rob Welch and John Stoudinger.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John.
How y'all are? Cajun Rob here hanging out with you.
How y'all are, man. Tonight we have a special guest. Tonight, Beau Batten, trusted expert in marine battery technology and performance power systems with deep understanding of what it takes to keep anglers powered up on the water. Beau has become a go-to resource for anyone looking to upgrade their battery setup for reliability, longevity, and top-tier performance. Whether you're a weekend warrior, a tournament pro, Beau's insights will help you stay charged and competitive. So let's welcome and bring Beau up to the stage, and we'll get right at it.
Hey, gentlemen.
How's it going, buddy?
Another
He
day,
must
man.
be talking.
Arizona is absolutely on fire today. My AC in my warehouse is not even working correctly because it's just like I can't do this.
Yeah.
So if I start sweating, I get real glistening. That's why.
All right.
You're good, man.
It's not because of our questioning.
No, that doesn't bother me.
All right. So if you don't mind starting off with who you are, why you started your company, and we'll go on from there.
Absolutely. So my name is Beau. Beau Batten. I've been an Arizona native my whole life. I've been fishing, throwing a bait caster since I was 5. And I love the sport. I love everything about it, the competitiveness, the camaraderie most of the time, depending on what the situation is. And my family and I have been in the battery industry for over 10 years.
Okay.
Our whole background is in golf cart batteries, deep cycle, RV batteries, forklift, pallet jacks, that kind of thing. And that's how we make our living. That's how we do our day-to-day stuff. With Arizona being a retirement state, we get a lot of golf carts and we get a lot of RVs. So it just made sense to jump on the bag wagon. Now, even though it is very seasonal, there's no doubt about that. Not a lot of folks here right now. But it's just something that we love doing. We're a mobile business. We go right to your house and do everything. But about 5 years ago, a young man walked into my office and he's like, "Hey, Beau, my name's so-and-so and I work for so-and-so and lithium batteries are the next thing." And I'm like, "I've heard some stuff about it. Like, sit down. I'll listen to your pitch. Like, I understand this is a pitch, so don't try to BS me. Let's just get over the details and let's talk about it." And he's like, "Okay, cool." So we sat down and he sold me on it. And the first lithium battery I installed in golf carts, besides my own, is probably the best on the market. They were just way too expensive. And then later down the road, when I found out how they were built and internals and stuff, I found out why they were so expensive. And I kind of wish I'd have stayed with them, but I wouldn't have sold any because nobody would have bought them. So
Exactly. Yep.
So anyway, so then we found a cheaper outlet. When I say cheaper, I don't mean like made quality cheaper. I just mean like in a price point, right? Because the more volume you buy, the cheaper it gets. And we had an okay run with those. Started having some problems. Didn't want to make it a reoccurring issue. And then about 2.5, 3 years ago, so-ish, we had a big company come in. And like in Arizona, in the state of Arizona, in the golf cart world, the battery guy is a name that people relate to. We're a mobile business. We come to your house. We have amazing customer service. We base our whole company off customer service, and that's why we have a reputation. So when the guy came through my door and he's like, "Hey, Beau, I can do this price for this much, but you got to buy this much at a time." I said, "Okay." Talked to Dad. My dad owns it. We're family operated. He used to be in. We're military owned. He used to be in the Army, and he's like, "Well, what do you think?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, at that price, the margin's great. Like let's do this. Let's venture in and jump into the deep end and see how it goes." And we did. And for like a year and a half, everything was just phenomenal. It was like, oh, it was amazing. We were buying truckloads at a time. And then we started having issues. And the issues were at the very beginning were kind of like silly stuff, like it's okay, I can overlook that, and
Yeah.
I'm on the phone with the technician back wherever they're at. I'm not, because if I told you where they were, everybody knew who they are. So I'm on the phone
Yeah.
with the technician, and we're going over things, and we're trying to figure this out and diagnose it in the field, because being a mobile company, I can't like take computer systems and have 6 of them for all my trucks, and you know what I mean. I just can't. That's not plausible. So what my role became was, I'm the warranty guy.
Yeah.
So I'm running around, and I'm like house to house trying to figure stuff out. Now, when I say house, I mean I didn't do like 6 a day. It was like maybe 3 or 4 a week.
Yeah.
And then it really got out of control about a year and a half into it. And we started figuring out that what was happening was cells were becoming imbalanced. And when the cells become imbalanced, the BMS can no longer function correctly because it's trying to protect itself. So once
Hmm.
the BMS says, hey, cell number 7 is really not doing too hot, you start having issues. So it would like drive for 15 feet and stop, and this and that and the other. Um, Basically, what happened was it got to the point where it was starting to hurt our reputation, and we would get to the point to where a customer would call, I'd call home base. Um, Everybody's on vacation, including the janitor. Like nobody was there.
Wow.
Sent in the emails, no response, or one incident. Like keep in mind, like my clientele is retired folks.
Yeah.
They're in the most of the time. Generally, they're like the average age, I think, is like 69 or something like that. And if you average it all out, and they were starting to tell me to, oh yeah, just have them pull it out, put it in a box, and have them send it in to us. And I'm like, you're going to tell me that my 82-year-old customer that can barely get to his golf cart, you want him to pull it out, put it in a box, ship it to you so you can have it for 3 weeks, basically just give him a new one after looking at it because you can't figure out what's going on, and then send it
Hmm.
back, and then have him reinstall it.
Sure.
And he's like, yeah. I'm like, no, no,
No.
no, that's not. And then it got to the point where now they didn't want me involved in the warranty process. So my phone's getting blown up by my customers, and it doesn't matter. So dad walks in one day, and he's like, hey, with you doing what you did in the field and talking to the tech and like understanding more about the battery, do you think you can make one? And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. I can make one. He's like, no, seriously. And I'm like, are you being like serious? Like, seriously, you want me to make it? And he's like, let's try. I said, okay. So we started doing some research. We started reaching out to different manufacturers that manufacture lithium, not only the cells, but actually the battery itself. And we got a hold of the company that we deal with today, and they're absolutely phenomenal. They come and see us once a year. They're here for a day or two, depending on their time. And we show them how the batteries are doing. We go through some that we have here. We have a couple like sample cards for shows and stuff that we do, that we have them in there, and they like to look at them and stuff like that. So once we figured out how to do that, Volta Power was born.
Yeah.
Volta Power was born on the basis of, we need something to replace these batteries.
Yep.
Because we're not getting help from anybody else, and we're going to put them in for what we have into them, just to save face, just to make sure that we have a reputation. People still trust us. Our name's not tarnished. We're not drugged through the mud. That was the biggest part to us, is like we care. Like
Yep.
we care about the end user. Saying that, as I was designing these batteries, all I had in mind was the end user. So I ran into all these issues from all these other manufacturers. And what I did is when I went in there and I know what the problem is, I said, I don't want that. I want to upgrade that, or just take it out completely if possible. And I added a bunch of new things that are make it way better, just from doing some research, just from a couple 10, 20 hours of just research, and calling people, and talk a lot of late nights, because all the manufacturers are overseas. So my day off here at 5, I go home and sit down, and I'm on the phone at 7 till whenever, just to talk to these people and understand what's going on, and asking questions, and getting good feedback. And so my uncle, which is a professional fisherman, he fishes the West Coast stuff. He does a lot of the one bass. He did the MLF and was back here. Now he's just a cotton farmer. He's a cotton farmer with a really expensive hobby, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, Bo, could you make a 12 volt?" And I'm like, yeah, I'd implement the same structures and just make it a smaller battery. And he goes,
Right.
could you do that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I was like, is it for you? And he goes, yeah, okay. I'm like, all right, cool. So then I designed one, we got it in, we tested it, and it just outperformed our expectations. Like, just absolutely outperformed it. And I looked at my dad and I'm like, Dad, this is an opportunity. If we can implement like we do in the golf what we do here, we can outperform any battery on the market that I'm aware of, that I've bench tested and went through and looked at and stuff like that. So Volta Power was born. Now we're in the marine world. We brought a
Right.
bunch in. There's a couple local shops here that are really supportive of us. Copper State being one of them. Copper State
Yep.
Tackle. Those guys are awesome down there. They do an amazing job. Their customer service is phenomenal. My opinion, they have one of the best boat mechanics in the state, and he's been doing it for a very long time, and he's very good at it. And I went in there, and I've never met the man before, ever. And I went in there, and just like any other tackle shop, you got the high school kid with the summer job behind the counter there. And I'm
Yep.
like, hey, you guys, check this out, man. Let me show you what this thing is. And they're all like, oh, that's great. you
Mm.
know? And then one of my pro staff that I brought onto the team, he actually is sponsored by Copper State. And I had a conversation with him. I said, hey, man, is there a way that you can get me in front of the person that makes decisions over there? Because the kids that I talked to, they probably didn't even realize what I was talking. They probably thought it was a video game or something. I don't know. So sat down with him, and it's been a beautiful relationship ever since. I've got a couple other like RV accounts that use my stuff. My batteries are just as good in an
Mhm.
RV as they are in a boat.
Okay.
Probably not going to put any 36 volts in an RV, but you never know.
Yep.
Um, I got a couple accounts just all over the place, and they're doing well. I haven't had any issues with any of the batteries. They've been in boats and being tested. I have one, my first guy I ever brought on my pro staff. He was my test dummy, and I had a conversation with him. I said, "Hey, listen, man, I need you. I have these lithium, but he had some lithium batteries he was having issues with. So like my uncle told me about it. He's like, hey, he'd be a great guy to just kind of, hey man, here's some batteries, just try them out and see how they're doing." And he had amazing feedback. And I told him, I said, dude, if you need to tell me if something's wrong, because if you don't tell me, I won't know, and I can't fix it. And I'm not going to put hundreds and thousands of these batteries out there and then it be an issue a year from now. And I don't know what to do because we didn't communicate. And he
Exactly.
took that very literally. And he's only come to me with one problem, and the problem was with the app. And the app is nothing. I have to call my app developer
Yep.
and like figure that out. And that was different. But yeah, that's Volta in a nutshell, man. We started from the bottom. Now we're here.
There you go. I heard that somewhere.
It's a song, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I
Um.
believe, but
So with lithium, everybody knows the size and the weight, versus the AGMs are significant. Have you found out that there's an impact on the boats themselves? Because a lot of the boats are built for the AGMs, 110
yes.
pound battery versus a 30-pound battery.
100%, you are correct. Yes, that is an issue. Now there are countermeasures to that issue.
Okay.
We are developing that as we speak. It's literally being designed and tested. We are coming out with weighted plates, so it's going to be like
Oh,
solid cold rolled steel plates to compensate for the weight of the. Now it's not going to be identical because those AGMs,
Right.
that's 120, 115 pounds versus my 100 amp that's 28. Like it's not going to make that big of a difference. But the main concern is the pitch when you get up and you come out of the hole
yep.
and you
Yep.
start wobbling like that.
Chime walking. Yep.
Exactly. And that is the problem. Most anglers that I've talked to with that is they just start shifting their stuff around on the boat to compensate for
Yep.
that. Like my weight box is probably 30 pounds.
Oh yeah.
So like that's, you ship that over there and all that stuff. But yes, it is a problem. I don't want to say problem, it's an issue.
Yep.
But it
Yes.
can be resolved. You can manipulate the boats to still be able to operate function correctly. Most, I would say 90% to 99% of the people that I talk to prefer the performance of the lithium over the AGM, so they just make it work. They figure out how
Yep.
to manipulate it and go from there. Now,
Exactly.
with talking about AGM and lithium, the lithium application will actually outlast the AGM by like 4 to 5 times in lifespan. So
Oh, wow.
that's a huge gap. Which, as a salesperson, I always pitch it. Hey, it's an upfront investment, but your ROI is worth it.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, so like your return on your investment is going to be worth it because you're spending, like, my 100 amp is $800 retail. And that's a 12 volt. So
Yep.
you're gonna buy this AGM or this lead acid 12 volt, preferably AGM. Don't do that to your boats, boys. Get an AGM. Put it in there, and you're gonna run it. And the AGMs are built to be beat up. You know, the AGM application is designed specifically for an industrial application, pallet jacks, floor scrubbers, that kind of thing, where they just really get abused a lot. And that's what they're designed for. That's what their whole design is for. The compound of the electrolyte and the gel and everything inside there. That's what it's for. So it will last you for sure. But when it dies, it dies. And the lithium side of things, the reason why a lot of people gravitate towards it is, and this is a very controversial topic, but it's the forward facing. The forward facing sonar is such a big part of the fishing world right now. And there's a lot of people that are against it. There's a lot of people for it. Um, I don't have a preference either way. You know, if the tournament allows you to have it, that's great. Then run it. If you don't want to fish against it, don't fish that tournament. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of where everybody, I think, should be stood on it. But again, you
Yep.
know, like you get these big tournaments, like on the West Coast. You know, we have the U.S. Open and the One Bass U.S. Open, and
Right.
that's a big payout. That's a big payday for a lot of these local guys, especially those guys that live down on the river. You know, they're over there fishing mead 2 3 times a week year round, and then this big tournament comes into play. But that aside, um, the voltage drop, and I'm sure this is going to be one of your questions, so I'm just going to go through it now so that we can just get
Yeah.
to it. The voltage drop is the one thing that's the main concern when you're dealing with your electronics, whether you have forward facing or not. But it predominantly goes towards the guys that are running that forward facing, is because you know you can throw out a crappie jig at 80 feet at 8 o'clock in the morning. You can see it on your graph, but come noon, 1 o'clock, you don't see it anymore. Now you don't see it till it reaches 50, 40, 6, somewhere in there. And so now you're losing 20 feet of visibility, which in these really deep, clear lakes that we have here in Arizona, you know, that fish sees you before you see it. I mean,
Oh, well.
that's just the way that it is. And that's an edge. That's a competitive edge against somebody else. So with the lithium and the higher ampere hour rating, now your voltage isn't high because your ampere hour. So and your ampere hour, I'll define what that is. Your ampere hour is your fuel tank per se.
Yep.
So the higher the ampere hour, the more runtime you have on that specific application. So if you have a 100 ampere hour battery, 100 ampere hour will get you right around 6 hours of fishing, and that's hard fishing. And that's if you're running one battery, you're running 3 graphs, 4 graphs, forward facing, because that thing's just constantly ping, 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 like it's just constantly running. So on average, they draw anywhere from 10 to 18 amps consistent draw. So at that rate, you're probably on a 100 amp, you're getting about 6 to 8 hours of usage before it just flat dies on you. And that's another thing with the lithiums too, is you're going to get that same power the whole time until you don't have power anymore. Whereas where the AGM, you're going to start see it decline. So you're going to looking at your graph, you're at 12.8, looking at your graph 3 hours later, now you're at 12.6, and then, you know, you just see it gradually drop. With the lithium, that shouldn't be that way depending on how it's made. Um, Most lithium applications, you're going to see that drop. And you're going to see that drop because of multiple reasons. And I'll get into that later on when we're talking about how they're built and stuff.
Okay.
But my whole pro staff has 2 of my 36s and 2 of my 12 volts. My 12 volt 150 ampere hours, and that has 150 continuous BMS. So what that means is you continuously draw 150 amps until that battery shuts off. I don't know of a single bass boat in the world that's going to draw 150 amps, but when we were designing this, we wanted to make sure that we had enough there, and in case something silly, maybe there's a short. You never know.
Mhm.
And I don't want the whole that angler's whole day to be ruined by something silly. So we beefed up the BMS. The 150 amp has 150 continuous. The 100 amp has 100 continuous. So you really can't go wrong either way. Just preference.
All right. I have a question. Another question. What about temperature? Does that affect how your lithium batteries hold up?
John, that's a wonderful question. And yes, it does. Yes,
Okay.
it does. Yes, it does. So the lithium application. So everybody's seen the Teslas on the side of the road in Alaska in the middle of winter, right? Everybody's seen that on the news. Lithium hates the cold. Absolutely does not like the cold. It acts up. It doesn't do well. The lithium itself starts to freeze, and that creates
Mhm.
issues. So when you buy a Volta-Power battery, all of our batteries, whether you want it or not, comes
Oh,
with
there
a
you are.
heat.
Okay.
So
Nice.
because just because we're in Arizona, most of our client base is in Arizona. If that boat gets sold and it ends up in Minnesota, then what? We thought ahead. We wanted to make sure that no matter where the boat landed, no matter who owns it, who buys it, who sells it, whose hands it goes into, it's always protected. I don't want warranty calls. I don't want my distributor to get warranty calls about, hey, my battery's not working. Well, what's the temperature? 27. There's your problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we implemented the heater. It does it itself. It kicks on itself. It's self-sufficient.
Nice.
The only thing that you would have to do if you do live in a cold state is just every now and again go out and plug your boat in, because as that heater is running, it is going to draw that battery voltage down, and you don't want to bottom out the voltage. So just be aware of that. Be wary of it, especially you guys in the colder states. Just make sure you go out there and you top it off. You can leave it plugged in if you want. There's multiple different things inside the battery, or excuse me, inside of the boat to like surge protectors. Most of the guys have surge protectors anyway. So that's really our only concern with lithium, especially here in Arizona. We get a lot of microbursts. We get a lot of electrical storms, and like we'll get a storm like it's like dead calm at 10 o'clock, and then 3:30 you can't see 5 feet because the rain's so bad. So it's just part of the climate. But but yeah, temperature is a huge deal. You really got to pay attention. A little testimony to the temperature. One of my pro staff, his name is Roy Hawk. He fishes the dams. Yeah, he's a good guy. I love Roy. Um, Good God fearing man. I love him. He fished Lake of the Ozarks this year for the MLF, and there was 2 inches of ice. So he's like breaking ice with the whole of his boat, and he didn't skip a beat because that heater kicked in. It did its job. It was there when he needed it. No problems. It's just a little testimony to that.
Right. I know you mentioned something about the forward-facing sonar. Just so everybody knows, the MPFL is up on the St. Lawrence River, and they don't have forward-facing sonar, and they're still whacking them. So,
Mhm.
so don't say you can't catch fish in the north without forward-facing sonar.
The last 3 big tournaments have all been won without forward facing.
Yep.
So I grew up fish. I mean, like I obviously when I was younger, I
We
didn't
all
have
did.
all that stuff. Like
I know.
we fished seasonal patterns, we fished shell rock, we fished long points, we fished. We based our fishing days like if there was a full moon, man. I didn't go to school. We were out getting it. Like we were just fishing.
You
And
kind of sound like us.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
nowadays it's a little different. I talk to these pros, all these guys on my pro staff, and like I got married young and I had kids, and my kids they're getting close to 10 now. So but I wanted to make sure that I stayed home and I really spent a lot of time with them because only that small one. So I cut
Yeah.
away from a lot of the stuff. I love to hunt, I love to fish, and I didn't really get to do a lot of that the last few years. But now that they're talking, walking, feeding themselves, and wiping their own butts, man, daddy's gone.
Yep.
There you go.
I'm out of
There
here.
you go.
But
All right.
but yeah, no
So
big deal on that.
if anyone has any questions for Beau,
Please.
shoot them out.
Please, I am not scared or nor am I shy. And I love to
All
talk.
right. All right.
All right. We got Parking Ruger says, "Don't worry, Rob. You know I'm all over this." With my face.
Mark Ruger is big on setting up sonar, so he's kind of our tech guru.
Yeah. He says, Bo, I think one overlooked item when it comes to lithium batteries and the weight is how many more amp hours you can pack into a boat and still weigh less than 3 or 4 conventional batteries.
100%, 100%. So like your average AGM is probably going to be anywhere depending on make. You know, they're all different. You get anywhere from 100 to 120 to 100 and maybe 50 if you're lucky on the 12-volt AGMs. It just depends. Now, the AGM ampere hour and the lithium ampere hour are very different due to the fact that on your 12-volt AGM, you've got 6 individual cells. They're full lead. There's not really anything in there telling it what to do. On the lithium side of things, the ampere hour is 150 versus 120. So it's like, oh, it's only 30 ampere hour. But the fact of the matter is you have 4 individual cells that are tied in together in series to be able to maximize efficiency. That's the difference between everything with lithium. That's why they run longer. That's why they perform better. That's why the voltage doesn't drop, is because you've got 3 individual batteries as one in a plastic case versus an actual one battery. Now, don't get me wrong, the AGMs are in series too. There's the same concept, but these batteries are so much well manufactured at such a higher quality, for lack of a better term, than the AGMs ever will be. Like I'm a lead acid guy, so that's what I built my whole career on that. I pride myself on my lead acid knowledge, and then my dad throws this stuff in my lap, and I'm like, well, my knowledge is useless. All those years
Yeah.
of experience is gone. But yes, it's over a specific amount of hours, right? So like on the lead acid side, it's going to be like 150 ampere hour over 20 hours. So on the lithium side, it doesn't really break down the same. It's a little different because each of those individual batteries has their own ampere hour that adds up to the 150. So like basically what it is you have 4 individual. So a lithium battery is built up of 3.365 volts. That's on any battery. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's golf cart, lithium, whatever. The individual cells are all 3.36. That's just the way it is across the board. Now you can have different cells that are made, different batteries that are made. Like you can make like a 100 ampere hour. So the cells are still the same size. It's just the insides are a little different because they're a different ampere hour than the rest. And it's just how they're manufactured internally. I don't know a lot about how the cell itself is manufactured. I do know a little bit about it. I'm still educating myself on that. It's a lot more than you think, and it's a lot to take in, and it's like paste and rolls and it's a lot. It's a lot. But yeah, so that's the biggest thing is that it's 3 batteries tied in series, just like you would do it in your boat. You know, like your 36-volt trolling motor. You put 3 12 volts, each of those 12 volts 100 ampere hour. You now have 300 ampere hour going to your trolling motor. You can pull skiers behind your bass boat with your trolling motor, basically, at that point. Like it thing is just booking. Like one of my guys, he just got a brand new boat. He just got a brand new Camus, and he's doing 4 to 5 miles an hour on his trolling motor on like 7.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "It's in voltas, man." I'm like, "Yeah, don't butter me up, dude. What's going on?" But yes, you maximize your ampere hour due to the individual cells being in series versus like an AGM application to where they're just all soldered together.
We do have a business question for you here.
Wonderful.
Do you offer a DC to DC chargers? And if so, do you have in a 3-bank?
My DC to DC chargers is an individual charger separate from my other chargers that I supply. So I have a 3-bank, a 2-bank, and a 1-bank. That's what we have available. We realize that we need other applications as well, but my DC to DC charger is definitely there. I don't even have them yet. That's how new they are. They are on order. They're over there somewhere, and they are on order. They're coming. They're designed. They're done. They're just waiting on whatever we're waiting on. It's been way too long. I've lost probably about 7 to 10 sales because I don't have it, because these bass guys, man, it's all got to match.
Oh, yeah.
You know. So but yes, so just a little insight on the DC to DC charger, if someone's watching is not familiar with what that is. A DC to DC charger, what it does is it connects to your lithium starter, because that's how it works, right? And boys, gentlemen, ladies, kids, college kids, do not start your boat off of a lithium 12 volt unless it is designed to crank that boat over.
Yep.
You could damage the BMS. You're pulling way too much cranking amps through the BMS. It's going to be like, and it's going to blow up or pop. So just keep that in mind. I know guys do it and they're like, I've been doing it for years. You were a lucky boy by a lottery ticket. You know what I mean? So, but for the most part, the DC to DC charger it's a charger that hooks onto your starter so that when your big motor's running, your alternator on your big motor is pushing voltage into the battery to charge it so that you can crank it next time you need it. So once on my particular battery or my charger, I'm not sure how other DC to DCs are designed, but my particular is once it recognizes 13.4 volts, and the reason we chose 13.4 is because at 13.4 that battery is getting enough charge to still accept a charge without just having it pass through. So at 13.4 volts it picks up from the starter and it starts pushing to your electronics. So as you're like, if you're using your down scan and you're checking out the bottom, or you're trying to find points, you're trying to find structure, whatever you're doing, you're just kind of cruising around. Most of us competitive fishermen guys, we do that for like half the day, half the morning, just try to figure out what it looks like down there, maybe find some structure, a little brush pile, something. That is when your battery's being charged. So you don't have to have it, it's not a necessity. I don't have one. One of my pros does, and he loves it. My other 6 don't have it, and to be honest with you, they don't need it. They don't need to top off their batteries throughout the day because there's multiple things. Like whenever you guys are ready, I can get into how they're made and what sets us apart. Those reasons in particular are why you don't have to have a DC to DC charger. Like I have so many testimonies on like all day long use and then some, and they still have an amazing amount of juice left.
Okay.
Nice.
You got anything, Rob?
Buckaroo's got one more question or one more comment here.
All right. Here's a good one. Can you explain the biggest advantage in going up to 36 volt as opposed to 12 and 24? Why you get much longer run time with the 36?
That's a great question. So it's a good question. You made me think about that for a second. So the 36 volt, so like the 24 volt in a trolling motor is few and far between. That predominantly that's the East Coast thing. There's not a lot of that on the West Coast. There's really not. The 12 volt application, that's more like your little 12-foot John boat. Like those are your 12 volt trolling motors. You're not going to have a 12 volt trolling motor on the front of your Camus or your Bass Cat or your Skeeter. You know what I mean? You're going to have a 24 or a 36.
Oh yeah.
The benefit of having a 36 volt trolling motor, there's 2 reasons. I have a 36 volt application. Everybody that has one 36 volt, now my 36 volts are 56 amps, but they're designed and there are implements inside that to be able to push you further. So the way I tell people is if you go out on the weekends and you're fishing with your kid or your dad, or you're just having fun times, just fun fishing, you're not a super serious tournament angler, 136 volt is all you need.
Yep.
Now, if you're a serious tournament angler and you have a 36 volt, I would recommend getting 2 36 volt batteries or 3 12 volts. The reason for the 3 12 volts is because most 36 volt chargers have a 24 volt application. So if something were to happen to one of the batteries, meaning like your forward facing battery, for instance, and that's 12 volts. If you were to have an issue with that, you can disconnect that, pull it out, set it in the back of your boat, take one of your trolling motor batteries, set it in there. You're still running forward facing. You turn your trolling motor over to 24, and you're right back where you started. And you can get through your day, and you can take care of whatever you need to when you're off the water. It gives you, it's like a backup kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like in case something silly happens, I have this application. And the same goes for the trolling motor. You have an issue with one of the trolling motor batteries, you just kick it over to 24. Now, 36 volt, you have something wrong with the batteries. If you're a competitive fisherman, you have 2. So you just take one off and you just run the 1, and you're going to have the exact same deal. Now, you're not going to get as much run time because you've got 1 versus 2, but it's going to get you through your day. It's going to allow you to do what you need to do, fish the water you want to fish, and get back to the boat ramp. But that's basically that's my take on the question.
Okay. I got you. Makes sense. Now, I know a lot of guys they have a lot of questions on charging systems. I know you have to have a special charger for the lithiums, correct?
That is correct. You cannot charge a lithium battery off of a lead acid charger. In the battery industry, we call it an algorithm.
Yep.
So there's different algorithms of which the voltage is put in. So, for instance, a lead acid battery likes it hot and fast. That wants it now, and it wants to do it for a short amount of time. AGMs like it low and slow. They don't want a super hard push, but they like a constant low push, and it's going to just really build those cells up. Lithium is like a lead acid. It is now. I don't want people to charge their lithium with lead acid. That's not what I'm saying.
No, no.
That's not what I'm saying. But it's the same kind of application. They like it hot and they like it fast. Now the lithium battery is fast, but it's more of like a mediocre kind of push. It's not like a.
Right.
And the reason for that, excuse me, the reason for that is because the cells are so much smaller. You're not pushing 12. You're still pushing 12 volts, but you're charging 4 individual small batteries.
Right.
So that's why it's a lot faster and more efficient for charging, especially for the tournament angler. I mean, I've dealt with it. You get back to your Airbnb, or maybe you don't have an Airbnb, or you have a house, or maybe or an Airbnb is a house. Or you have a hotel, but you got 16 different anglers fighting over 2 outlets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's a problem. I can't tell you. A lot of the guys here, they bring. I can't tell you how many boats I've seen with a generator in the back, an extension cord coming out of the back of the truck, running down the boat all the way to as they're driving back from the lake, just trying to get those batteries, just charging it. You know, that's not an uncommon thing to see out here in the West. Because depending on where you're at, you don't. First of all, you don't want your generator to get stolen. So now you're trying to keep that safe. You're not going to pull it out of your truck and put it in your room every night, you know. So that's kind of a big deal. But the algorithms are definitely different. If you're running lithium batteries, please get a lithium charger. It's going to benefit you. It's what your BMS, which is your battery management system. That's just a little computer that sits inside of your lithium batteries. It's looking for a specific algorithm, and if it doesn't see it, it'll still charge, but it just won't charge well. Over time, with a lead acid charger, it will burn them up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but yeah, I'm like you, man. I'm a lead acid guy. I was a fire alarm tech for a long time, low voltage tech. So I'm with you. I was a lead acid guy for a long time. So
you're one of my favorite customers.
Hey, all right. Went through a lot of them.
I'm sure.
But yeah, I'm like you. I'm still kind of learning the lithium game, but like I said, go over construction. I'm kind of curious on how the sales and the management system. Kind of go through construction real quick for us.
Oh, absolutely. And this is my favorite part to explain to people because it just blows their minds. So, like I said before, on a 12 volt, you've got 4 individual batteries. They're all tied into series, right? So in a Volta Power battery, we took every single ounce of precautions that we could, just because of the failures that we've had in the past from other batteries that we sold from other manufacturers, and we just eliminated those. So first and foremost, all of our cells are laser welded together. So there's not soldered. It's not a nut and bolt that's going to jiggle loose. It's just it's laser welded, and it's not a tack weld. It's like if you go to Volta Lithium, VoltaPowerLithium.com, we actually have a video of our batteries being laser welded on there, so you can see what it looks like. And I encourage everybody to go check it out. So with that being said, they're all in there individually. A lot of battery manufacturers that we have that we are like competitors, because we do research and development. Everybody else is doing it. I'm sure people buy my batteries just to cut them open. So I do the same thing. I want to see what it looks like, how they do it, because if it's something that I like, I try to implement it in mine, or vice versa. Or if it's something I'm just like, oh, my Lanta, I'm not doing that. You never know what you're going to see. So we use prismatic cells. Prismatic cells are tubular cells, so it looks like it's kind of like it's a horizontal, or horizontal. I don't know, but a triangle, and it sits upright in the box, right? So there's a positive and a negative on each, and it's about this tall.
Okay.
Now, other manufacturers out there, a lot of the other ones are using what we call cylindrical cells. Cylindrical cells, you have to have a lot more of them to be able to perform at the peak of performance that people are expecting when they spend that kind of money on a battery. So on a prismatic cells are designed for high charge times. So like you want super duper charge to the top, and long discharge times.
Right.
So that's why we went with the prismatic cells. Cylindrical cells, if you were to kind of give you a picture of what it looks like, remember the old D batteries you throw in your mag light back in the day?
Yep.
That's what they look like. There's
Oh, yeah.
anywhere, and there's about 16 of them inside of that battery. And the way that they mount them is there's two pieces of tin or aluminum, depending on whatever the manufacturer uses. And you have one side connected to one. You have the positive on one side and negative on the other, and that is what's holding the batteries together. So if you imagine going down a lake or possibly even like a motorhome application, washboard roads, dirt roads, back roads, that kind of thing, and the vibration and the rattling and all this other stuff, that's a problem with that particular application because they're all nut and bolted together because they're just the two little rods that come out, and they just that's how they create the circuit is by putting them to those two deals, and then you have your positive side, negative side. You have your wires that come out to your terminals, and then you hook it up to whatever application you're using. Prismatic cells aren't like that. We use real thick space age foam, and it cushions it inside there, right? So all of our batteries, before we even have them packaged to get a vibration test, and the vibration test, if it fails, it does not get packaged. So it's a quality thing for us. And we just want to make sure. Plus, a lot of these like motor manufacturers are like, hey, you want to use that battery? You got to send it in, and you got to have that thing vibrate. Let us vibrate, test it, the vibration test, and see if it's even something we're even willing to think about. So that's kind of a big deal there too. So moving on from the cells, we have the prismatic cells and cylindrical cells. All the Volta batteries are a prismatic cell. When it comes down to the cells, you have different grades of cells. You have A, B, and C. Now, this is kind of like the funny thing about lithium is they're all made the exact same way.
Yep.
A, B, and C. How they get their grading is once they are actually completed and they're done and they're finished, they get tested. And they have to hit a specific spectrum to be able to get an A grade, a B grade, and a C grade. So we only use A grade cells because we wanted the best of the best. We wanted to make sure it would perform. And this is with our golf cart and with our 12 volts. So they're all grade A cells. The BMS is it's kind of a bigger BMS. It's pretty big. I have I won't give you the name of the BMS, but it's one of the top of the line BMSs. It's one of the best of the best. It is double sided. It has the aluminum fins to keep it cool so it doesn't overheat. And ours is actually protected. So like I've seen some BMSs where I've cracked open batteries and it's just a computer board laying there, and I'm like, that's not going to work.
No, not long.
Exactly. So when going back to the golf cart side of things, that was a big problem over there too. Is they were just trying to create a battery for very low amount of money and maximize their profits, and then they say as they were going through there, they're going to come back and revamp everything, Gen 1, Gen 2, whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see those because I was out before it happened. But knowing that was an issue, I was very, very particular. I shouldn't say us as a whole. Like there's a gentleman, his name's Abel Lips. He works right alongside me every day. He had such a big part of this as me, maybe even more on how we're designing this battery. And he's very knowledgeable. He's a tinkerer. Right, he's one of the really good guys to have on your team when you're developing something because he's like, well, I can make that better. Oh, okay, how? Show me. So I don't want to take all the credit. And my dad, obviously, he's right in the middle. He wants to know what's going on. He's like, why this over that? And then if he doesn't understand, explain to me why, because he's going to have a conversation one day. He's going to want those answers. So it's definitely a team effort here at Volta. It's not like one person coming in and just saying, hey, this is what we need. It's one guy coming in saying, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And most of the time, we encourage each other to challenge why that over this. If you can explain why and it makes sense and we test it and it works, we'll buy you lunch.
There you go.
So
that's a word why. I don't mind adults saying it, but when a kid says it, why? Oh, that just bugs me.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah. I'll let you explain that to my daughter. I'll get you guys together here after the show, and you guys can have that conversation.
Hey, my daughter, I have a 7-year-old, and that's a battle every day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
Mine's 8.
she's 7 going on 17 though. So
Oh yeah, most women at that age are.
yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So moving on past the cells and the BMS, how we have the BMS wired into the battery itself is we use actual like a shunt. It's not like a wire going
Yeah.
from the BMS. It's an actual, it's a aluminum plated copper plate, and it goes directly. So we have 4 screws that are on the BMS itself, and then it goes down to the actual positive of the battery, which runs the wire up to the connector. And then the same thing on the negative side, 4 screws, and it's mounted right there. It's not going to jig, rattle, or roll. We put RTV over every nut and bolt that we have in there to keep that from
Cool.
rattling loose. It's just something we thought about in the future. Hey, could this come loose? Is it possible? Yes. Likely? No. Well, let's make it not possible. We'll just put some RTV on there and just make sure that it stays nice and snug. I like my biggest thing when I tell my guys is when I have the same conversation with them when they're getting ready to come on the team, or like one of my field staff or something has a question. I always tell them, I did my job so you can focus on yours. Don't worry
Yeah.
about the batteries. You worry about putting fish in the boat and say
Yeah.
my name when you win it. You know,
Yeah.
that's really all it is. So with that being said, all the bus bars and all that going through there, we also have like I said, the built-in heater. So no matter what, no matter which one you get, if it has Volta power on the side of it, unless it's a golf cart application, it's got a heater. Some of ours don't, and you have the alternative there. The heater is it's such a big deal. You know, other brands make you pay $100 extra for one.
Wow.
I didn't see the point in that. I just figured let's just get it to them because if they need it, they have it, and if they don't need it, that's fine. Either way, they win. We win. You know. Now the most important part of the battery and the thing that really sets us apart from everybody else on the market is active charging. So lithium in the lithium world, there's 2 types of charging. You have passive charging, and you have active charging. Passive charging is what all lithium batteries are capable of. It's a process where the BMS kicks in at the end of the charge and it makes sure that all the cells are balanced, right?
Right.
Now, every BMS is different. Some is like within 0.7 volts, some are within 0.6 volts. It's how you program it. Mine are programmed on my active charger and on my um, BMS itself. I'm sorry, I saw something pop up. I was trying to read it. Um,
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
what happens is that we did it to zero point 0.3 millivolts.
Wow.
So our cells at the end of the charge through the BMS will be within zero point 0.3 millivolts of each other. Now, I know that sounds it's a huge difference. 0.3 millivolts versus 0.7 millivolts
Yeah.
is actually a big deal because your BMS is designed, depending on your BMS, to pick up on the millivolt side of things because that's what's trying to protect it from either popping or shorting out or anything like that. So now my active charger, what it does, so passive charging happens at the end of the charge, right? So at the end of the charge, it goes through and it balances everything. So the active charger, what it does is it kicks on every 60 minutes for 10 seconds and it balances them within 3 millivolts of each other while it's charging, while it's discharging, while it's sitting, while it's dormant, while it's sleeping. It doesn't matter. It's going to kick on and it's going to balance those cells every hour. Now, that's amazing because it benefits you in so many ways. First and foremost is with your cells being that balanced all the time, the life expectancy of your battery just goes through the roof. You know,
Oh, yeah.
like it's going to be a 10 to 15 year battery. No problem. 2 more things that are really cool about that is that with your cells being that balanced, when you're charging, it's going to create shorter charge times because
Yeah.
it's not trying to sit there and get everything back together. It's just going to be like zip, done. And then your discharge as well. So because they're so balanced and they're right there with each other, um, you're not going to have throughout the day voltage drop because your cells are all identical. They're all within 3 millivolts of each other. So it's going to give you longer durations of discharge. A testimony I have for that is one of my pro staff, his name's Shane Edgar. He's a good guy. He's in his mid-20s. He guides hunts. He does an amazing job. He's a stick. He's a stick for sure. Um, he went up and he fishes all the one bass, so that's his main, that's his circuit that he fishes. He was up at Lake Shasta in Northern California, and this year was horrible, man. They had snow one day, rain and hail the next day, and then the final day it's like bluebird skies, and everybody's just like waiting for it to come over the hill. You know, like where's this at? What's gonna happen? Um, so when he got up there, he went up there a couple days early, pre-fish, obviously. Everything was fine. Then the weather started to come in, and he did not have a 36-volt charger on his boat, so he got one specifically to take up there to charge. And the one that he got weathered on, and it catastrophically failed.
Oops.
And when it failed, it made one of my batteries fail too. So um, it literally melted one of my batteries down. Didn't hurt it. It still worked. I said, don't risk it. Just pull it out. Just use the one and try to get a charger. And
Yeah.
he's like, okay, cool. So he's on like Amazon Prime trying to figure out how, on the way to the boat ramp, trying to figure out how to get this all done. Now the one bass is a pretty serious circuit, especially on the West Coast. Before the Super 60, it was the highest paying circuit that we had. Now the Super 60 is, but I mean that's kind of like a good old boys club. Like you got it, it's a little more expensive to fish those.
Yeah.
But he got out there on day one, fished all day. He's out there fishing for a paycheck. This is his paycheck. It's how he makes his living. And he only got the 136 down to, I think it was like 78 or 77%. So he's like, okay, worst case scenario, I can fish another day. Worst case. And he's like, he's still trying to get this battery charger, trying to figure out, find one, maybe ask a buddy, because, all of us local guys in Arizona, we all obviously know each other. We see each other on the Thursday nighters or Wednesday nighters, whatever it is. And fished day two. I got all the way done with day two, and it was only at like 62%.
Wow.
So he's like, I'm not even going to get a charger. I'm just going to push this thing as far as I possibly can, as hard as I can, for as long as I can. And he likes shaking a minnow, right? So he's running around, he's chasing those things around, he's just getting it done, So he's on his motor all day. He finished day three, and I believe he had like high 20s left inside the battery.
Wow.
And this is a 56 amp, 36 volt, right? We were talking about ampere hour earlier.
Yeah.
You're not like the ampere hour in lithium is way different than in the lead acid. You can't compare them. It's not the same. 56 amps, 36 volt battery to fish competitively for 3 days and still have juice in it is astronomical. It's never heard of.
Yeah.
One of my other guys that I have locally here is named Sean Coffey. He guides for Arizona Fishing Guide, so he's just always on the water. He's out there 3, 4, 5 days a week. He was fishing his team tournament circuit we have here locally, and it was one of our really deep, clear lakes, right? So those fish, they just see everything, and you got to chase them down. Like you get them on that live scope, and you're just like, and you're casting at them, and you're in 7, and you're chasing them down. He was cutting coves on his. He didn't even put his big motor in the water all day long, and he fished I think it was a 10-hour tournament. And when he got off the water with two 36-volt batteries, nonstop all day. He said on average the average number he had it on all day was 7. He said he switched from 10 back down to 5, so he like averaged 7, and both of his 36 volts at the end of the day still had over 65% in them.
Wow.
And that is all due to that active charger, because that active charger is just, they start to drop. Nope, not today. Start to drop. Nope, not today. And it just allows you to push them further and further. It gives you a competitive edge over somebody that doesn't have that technology in your battery, because same thing with the live scope. Even on lithium batteries, just because it's a lithium doesn't mean you're going to still get that same picture. There are a bunch of lithium batteries that I've gotten boats with guys when I was designing this and developing it. I said, what are you running? And he told me, and I was looking at it, and that 80 feet turned into 70, and that 70 turned into 60. My guys have no issues with that because of that active charger. The voltage drop is basically eliminated. You're not going to have it. It's non-existent, because it's rebalancing itself, which is helping the cells hold that ampere hour, allowing that voltage to stay the same.
Nice. All right. I think what we need to do is take a break and have him back on, have Beau back on, and we haven't really talked about the setup of a boat or anything like that. and why this battery versus that battery, and what should I use for my boat, if you don't mind, because we're getting close to the hour mark, and since we're broadcasting live on Roku TV, I believe, I don't really want to mess up our programmer's schedule too much.
Yeah, no problem. I'm
All
here.
right.
I got all the answers, most of them. Don't quote me on that.
That's so. Hey, Bo, thank you very much. Thank you, Jennifer Muse, for getting us in touch with you.
Absolutely.
And
She's a
yes,
wonderful human
appreciate-
being.
She is. She's a talker as well.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And the kayak stuff is growing like leaps and bounds all the time.
Yeah.
We have
And
a
I
lot
wanna
of
get
stuff
in-
coming out for kayaks.
Oh,
And
nice.
Want to talk about that as well. So,
Awesome.
all right, Bo.
I'm
Well,
gonna
hey,
grab a drink and then we'll see you in a second.
well, how about well, we'll do it a different day.
Okay, that's fine.
We'll combine another day because, like I said, we're about getting close to an hour. I'll contact you probably later on tonight or tomorrow, and
Sure.
try to schedule something else. And instead of, I mean, you did a great job of going over the makeup and why your batteries are why they are. I think we want to get into how to set things up, how to set up your boat and your kayak,
Absolutely.
and so
Yeah.
that'll help out a little bit.
But great, man. I learned a lot from you, man. I appreciate it, man. You dropped a
Thanks.
lot of knowledge.
I appreciate that. I worked real hard.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But Bo, thank you very much for coming on,
My pleasure.
talking about your batteries, and how can people get your batteries?
Battery. Oh, very simple. So you go to voltapowerusa.com. Everything that we have available is on the website. If it's out of stock, that means we don't quite have it yet. But it's still there, so you can look through and see what we have. If you buy now, I think we still have the free shipping going. I'm not 100% sure, but if it's there, good for you, man. You won. Like you're not paying any extra.
Yep.
But voltapowerlithium.com or voltapowerusa.com. Hit us up on all of our social media stuff. We have Instagram, we have all that stuff, Facebook. Just search Volta Power, you'll see it. It's a big VP. It's beautiful. I love it. That's the best way to get our batteries. If you're local here in Arizona, you go down to Copper State Tackle and pick them up there. If you're in Kentucky, you can go to Volt One. My buddy Brandon, he's a dealer up there. And we also have a couple of dealers like State Trailers to start to pick them up too, so you can pick them up there if they're a little closer. So wherever you guys are at, you can definitely give me a call. If you have a question, you can call me. I'm more than welcome, and I'm not too proud to take the conversation. I'd love to have the talk, answer your questions of any sort that you have.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. And like I said, I'll get with you for another date.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
All right. Take care, sir.
Thank you,
Have a good
Bo.
one.
All right,
Take care.
man. See you. All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Wow, man. I learned a lot right there.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch this because I worked on aircraft and electronics and stuff like that, and my head was spinning.
Yep.
About because he actually designed and manufactured the batteries.
Oh, I know. I mean, and then put it through the, like you said, the torture test, and man, that's impressive. I say I'm my old low voltage electronics. I dealt with batteries all the time with alarm systems, fire alarms, evac stuff. So I was impressive.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, everybody, take care. I'm sorry about that. My wife, or I'm sorry, Constance brought down the baby monitor, so I guess she decided she can't stay an extra couple minutes while I'm on the podcast.
Yep.
All right.
It's
Well,
all good, man.
yeah. Everybody have a good night. Be safe. You go out fishing. Make sure you wear your life vest. I don't care if you're in a John boat, a kayak, a bass boat, whatever.
Yeah, and be aware of your surroundings, and everybody thoughts and prayers for Texas and New Mexico, Arizona. I know all y'all had some bad floods, so hearts and prayers go out to you guys.
Yes. Everybody be safe, and God bless y'all, and take care.
All right, peace.